This video is Lesson 8, Partial Fraction Decomposition, which is an application of solving a system of linear equations like we did in Lesson 7. It's also another peek into calculus work. The first thing I want to let you know is that the homework in ALEKS will look different from this lesson. It is like a traditional homework assignment. You are not learning topics, but completing individual problems. However, know that you have unlimited attempts at each question. So you should still strive to get 100%. If you should miss a problem, you can click on try another, and it will give you another problem to try. And you can keep doing that until you get credit for that problem. You can also use this try another button in homework assignments in ALEKS to get more practice. Know that once you get credit for answering the question correctly, it cannot be taken away. In other words, if you try another after you've gotten a problem right and you get the next one wrong, you will not lose credit for that problem. So it's a good way to get some additional practice. So we'll start off this concept with a skill that you need for this lesson, as well as the entire course. So that is factoring. So we will be factoring to solve equations, and this is our first peek into the skill. So what we're asked to do in this example is to factor x squared minus 3x. So you're looking for the greatest common factor between the two, and what you're going to do with that is pull it out front. And then you'll open up a set of parentheses. Now the number that goes in front is the greatest common factor. And then inside the parentheses, you'll have the same number of terms as the problem that you started with. And if what you're factoring out is positive, the signs will remain the same inside the parentheses. So if I look at x squared and the term 3x, they have x in common. So that is the GCF. So I'm going to pull out x out front, and then inside the parentheses, I'm going to determine what's left. So in other words, what would I need to multiply x by to give me x squared? And that, of course, would be x, because x times x is x squared. The number that goes in the second blank is going to be the number that you need to multiply by x to give you negative 3x, and that would be negative 3. So factoring is kind of undoing what we've been doing so far, so kind of working backwards. So we've been using the distributive property so far this semester, but now we're kind of undoing that. You can always check your factoring work by asking yourself two questions. The first question would be, do the terms inside the parentheses have anything in common? If they do, it means you factored out a common factor, but not the greatest common factor. And you'll need to factor that out and keep working until the terms inside have nothing in common. The other thing you need to ask yourself is if I were to apply the distributive property, would I wind up back where I started? So in other words, if I took x times x minus 3 and multiplied these two factors like we have been, remember the distributive property says I have to take this term and multiply it by both terms inside. So x times x will give me x squared, and x times negative 3 will give me negative 3x. So since I wound up where I started, that means I have factored it correctly.